Russell Wilson's return to Seattle came to a catastrophic end when Nathaniel Hackett, the head coach of the Denver Broncos, made an odd move that cost them the game. It was truly a thrilling game. Wilson's Broncos fell to the Seahawks 17-16, but if it weren't for Hackett, the star quarterback would have had a different ending. We've got more on this for you in this video. First up, let's face it, Hackett messed up bad. On 4th and 5, with the game on the line, first-year head coach Hackett chose not to let Wilson run a play. Instead, he went for a 64-yard field goal, which would have been the second longest field goal in NFL history. It was always going to be a lot to expect of Brandon McManus because his biggest field goal was 66 yards. It ultimately turned out to be that way since the kick flashed barely beyond the left upright. Wilson and the Broncos are getting ready to make the difficult trip back to the Mile High City, while Seahawks coach Pete Carroll was ecstatic as his team got off the best possible start. Next, Hackett's under fire from fans. Many fans question Hackett's bizarre decision to kick the field goal rather than pass the ball to Wilson. Roger Sherman, a contributor for SB Nation, tweeted that he finds it unbelievable that the Broncos burned a timeout after adding 40 extra seconds to the clock. They could have missed a field goal and still had a chance to recover the ball if they had simply chosen one. Both were done. Matt Skubert, deputy sports editor at Denver Post, had similar things to say. He had a question for Hackett, and we have the exact same one ourselves, so here it is. What in the world were you thinking, Hackett? Zach Stevens, Denver Broncos beat reporter, also had something to say. According to him, the Broncos had 1 minute 11 seconds left on the clock and 3rd and 14, and with 20 seconds left, they made their first timeout call. This meant that 51 seconds were lost due to their negligence. Former National Football League safety Ryan Terry Clark, who played for the American football team, shared his 2 cents on the occasion too. He claimed he wouldn't pay $256 million to have his kicker attempt a 64-yard field goal on 4th and 5. Lastly, John Boyce tweeted that he can't think of any instances where decisions have been made worse than what he's just seen from the Broncos. That was Next, for NFL analyst Chris Raybon's take on the blunder. Chris was utterly disappointed as well. He tweeted shortly after the match that Hackett had 2 options. The first was asking a guy who had previously thrown for 340 yards to throw for another 5. The second was to ask a guy with a career-long field goal of 61 to make one from 64. Well, guess what? Hackett, being Hackett, opted for option number 2, which is absolutely surreal. It's so unbelievably that people are still finding it hard to swallow. Moving on, what would have worked out better? Fans are completely astounded over the fact that Hackett decided to kick the field goal instead of letting Wilson make the play. That is what would have been a more sane decision. Wilson's return to Seattle, where he had spent his entire NFL career, was a letdown after the game's depressing and mind-boggling ending. He was dealt to Denver in the offseason along with a 4th-round pick, while the Seahawks received a huge haul in return that included quarterback Drew Lock, defensive lineman Shelby Harris, tight end Noah Fant, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, a 5th-round pick, and several other young players. Wilson signed a 5-year, $245 million contract with the Broncos, but he appeared to be a quarterback who was only worth half as much. The great quarterback for Denver completed 29 passes out of 42 attempts for 340 yards and just 1 touchdown. Geno Smith, his rival at the Seahawks, outperformed him with 2 touchdowns while he expertly aired it out for 195 yards from 23 of 28 successful passes. Up next, can Hackett do better? Don't get us wrong, alright? Hackett is a freaking superstar. He was one of the many reasons for the Denver Broncos fan base to be thrilled about the 2022 season. The squad started the new season with a new head coach after back-to-back head coaching failures. Nathaniel Hackett, the offensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, was hired by the Denver Broncos to serve as their new head coach. After spending 2 seasons with the Green Bay Packers and 3 seasons with the Jacksonville Jaguars, Hackett began his debut campaign as an NFL head coach. The Packers' prolific passing attack, which included a top 10 passing and scoring offense in 2021, was made possible by Hackett's performance in previous roles. Additionally, as the offensive coordinator for the Jaguars in 2017, he led them in making it to the AFC Championship game and made Blake Bortles appear like a franchise quarterback. So yeah, the man has potential. Finally, should you give Hackett a chance? Being a successful coach in your first season is difficult, as many rookie bench bosses have stumbled in the past. In 2021, 7 new head coaches were brought on board, but none of them managed to advance further. Hackett is one of 5 coaches who will be in charge of an NFL team for the first time this season. Typically, there wouldn't be many expectations to win with a franchise that's rebuilding, but Hackett and the Broncos needed to get off to a strong start right away and quickly demonstrate that they're making progress in the very competitive AFC West. The past has proven that it is extremely difficult, if not impossible, for a rookie head coach to make the Super Bowl, let alone win it. George Seifert of the San Francisco 49ers in 1988-89 was the last one to do so. Despite the blunder, the Broncos remain upbeat about their chances this year and think they have what it takes to contend for a championship. This hasn't always been the case, but this season, Hackett has the chance to revitalize the squad. On to other news. First up, is Russell Wilson cooked? This anti-Russ talk is starting to feel a little personal. Forget Chandler Jones, the new Raiders running back, and Broncos killer Max Crosby. Wilson has recently been under a lot of criticism. During the Cowboys-Giants Manning cast on Monday night, the youngest Manning brother cracked a joke that had everyone in the mood. He claimed that the team ought to have given Corliss Waitman, the punter, $235 million instead of Russell. 3 things. 1. Hell yeah, Waitman was excellent last Sunday with 6 punts inside the 49ers' 20-yard line. Second, the Broncos did in fact pay $245 million to Russ. And here's the third. Gets worse. Russ and coach Nathaniel Hackett appeared as the cartoon host of a cooking reality program in an animated sketch that Bleacher Report published this week. However, the kitchen resembled Lucy and Ethel rather than Julia Child. The Ringer published its weekly NFL QB rankings on Wednesday. Dange Russ was ranked 8th, 3rd in the AFC West, behind Chargers' Justin Herbert and Chiefs' Patrick Mahomes, number 4. Given the setting, there's no shame, right? That is, until you read the small print. The second of 2 icons was a little image that resembled the late actor Wilford Quaker Oats Brimley, wearing a green football helmet and glaring next to 2 scary phrases on Wilson's scouting breakdown: washed watch, which means washed up. Next up, the Broncos must now take on him who must not be named. The 4th week matchup between the Denver Broncos and Josh McDaniels' Raiders will take place in Las Vegas. It hurts us even to type his name. The Broncos will be seeing McDaniels for the first time as a head coach in this game. The Broncos have occasionally used McDaniels' New England Patriots offense, but that era has passed. McDaniels is currently seeking to become a head coach for the 2nd time. Actually, it's his 3rd attempt if you want to count when he totally fleeced the Indianapolis Colts. But we'll let that one slide. Whatever the case, his time with the Raiders has not started well. The Raiders are at 0-3 and desperate for a victory going into their game against the Broncos. Lastly, the Broncos promote wide receiver Kendall Hinton and guard Netane Muti for the upcoming match. The Broncos have promoted guard Netane Muti and wide receiver Kendall Hinton from their practice squad to the active roster ahead of their Week 4 showdown with the Las Vegas Raiders. During the 2022 season, Hinton received 2 promotions. He's made 2 catches for 47 yards, including a crucial 27-yard 3rd down catch in the Broncos' Week 3 victory over the 49ers. In Week 2 against the Texans, Muti was given a starting spot, although he didn't take part in a single play. Tyree Cleveland and Quinn Manier's injuries will be partially filled by Hinton and Muti respectively. That's a wrap for this video. What's your thoughts on Hackett leading the Broncos? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.